What's the biggest dating what the f you've experienced? Story 1. A girl I had been seeing for a couple of weeks or so asked me to go with her to a funeral of some guy I didn't know. What I didn't expect was that the funeral was for her fiancé. Got out of there real quick once I realized why everyone was shooting me glares the whole time. I was the side. Story 2. I went on a Tinder date with this one girl whose bio said something like, "You won't like me, I'm a disaster." Spoiler alert, she was right. But she was pretty attractive, so we went to get tea at a local hipster joint. She was obviously depressed, and she told me about her hyper-competent other personality that she sometimes slips into, and how her current life goal was to move several states away from her family and work at a gas station, even though she was a senior bio major. As the date was ending, she freaked out, saying that she forgot her backpack in her last class, but doesn't have a car to get back. Apparently, her mom dropped her off and then went home, half an hour away in the suburbs. So I took her to get her backpack, and then she told me that she needed me to drive her to her house because it was late and no bus was running out there apparently. So I drove her half an hour back to her parents' house in the suburbs. And on the way there, she told me that she actually has a boyfriend, but sometimes likes to see what's out there, and that this is what our date was. I couldn't believe it, and I just stopped my car and told her to get out. We were about 10 minutes away from her house, and after that I blocked her everywhere, and we've never seen each other again. Some people are just weird. Whoa, that's quite the roller coaster of a date. I mean, forgetting your backpack is one thing, but forgetting you have a boyfriend is a whole other level of forgetfulness. And wanting to work at a gas station despite being a senior bio major? I guess that's one way to put that degree to use. But hey, at least you got a story out of it, right? And who knows, maybe you'll find someone who's little less of a disaster on your next Tinder date. Story 3. I had a guy ask me out on a date, and he suggested a Japanese restaurant I liked. After I ordered, the server asked him what he wanted, and he said that he wasn't hungry. I asked him if he wanted to wait until he was hungry, but he said, "Nah, I just want to watch you eat." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, but by his facial expression, I could tell that he wasn't joking. He actually proceeded to watch me eat sushi alone, and it was really awkward. The sushi was good though, so there's that at least. Story 4. I was very new to the city and ended up setting up a date with a girl off Tinder. I spent a lot of time looking into cool bars and suggested a bunch to her, but she ended up really wanting to go to a certain bar. Like, would not take no for an answer. I looked it up, it looked okay, nothing really that special. I figured she had some sort of thing with the people who worked there where she could escape if the date went bad. Fast forward to the date, it's going really well. She's absolutely gorgeous and the conversation is really easy. I bring up the choice of the bar and why she was so adamant on this one. She said her ex-boyfriend works here. That throws me off, but I figured they broke up a while ago and now are just friends. So I question further, asking how long ago they broke up, and she tells me 2 weeks ago, and that he is currently our bartender. I look over at the bar, and this massive 280-pound guy is giving me the biggest death stare. I was wondering all night why he was being a donk to me. Now I understand. Got out of there pretty quickly after that. Whoa, I guess you dodged a bullet that night. God knows what could have happened if she provoked him in some way or tried to pursue things with you right there and then while he was giving you that scary death stare. I'm pretty sure you'll never let your date choose where you're going for the first date. Story 5. On a third or fourth date, I went back to his apartment to have a glass of wine. We had a great evening until near the end when he said, "Whoa, I can't believe you passed almost every test." Turns out he set up his apartment with small girlfriend tests. He made sure there was little to no toilet paper to see if I could change the roll, if I rinsed my dishes, if I turned off lights behind him, where I put my jacket and shoes. Needless to say, there were no further dates. I felt creeped out. Story 6. I had been dating this guy for about a month, and I knew he was pretty freshly out of another relationship. We were having beers on a patio at a tap house nearby, and his phone rings and he answers it and proceeds to talk to who I realized was his ex. They were arguing and talking about their breakup, all while he was still sitting at the table with me. After about an hour and a few beers later, a guy at the table next to me gave me kind of a nod to join his table. I did. We talked about what a asshole the other guy was being. We spent the next couple hours chatting. Douchebag left when his phone call was over, and my new friend and I ended up dating for a year and we're still friends to this day. What a douchebag. He doesn't deserve you. Good thing you let him go probably back to his poopy ex-girlfriend without complaining or drama right there. Great to hear you had fun with that guy and that you're good friends now. Wish you all the best in future relationships. Story 7. I've been on and off the dating app life for a couple of years now. I just got my first big boy job and moved to a new area, and I matched with this cute girl who was a junior in college nearby. We had a nice first date, got coffee, and walked around. We set plans to grab lunch that weekend as well. She was really cool, and we had a lot of things to talk about. After lunch, we decided to go on a hike, and I drove us to my house to grab some water, snacks, and change my clothes so I can be more comfortable on the hike. Afterwards, we went on the hike, and everything was going pretty well. After the hike, we kept texting over the week, and everything was going smoothly until Friday that week. I went to my friend's house, and we had a few drinks, so I didn't feel comfortable driving back home. He didn't have an Android charger and my phone was dying, so I sent a courtesy text to her to let her know I was going to be out of commission for a while because my phone was about to die. The next morning, I get home and charge my phone. After a few seconds, I get a slew of text messages. I think it was around 50 messages. And guess what? All were from her. At first, she told me to go have fun and have a good night, but then it went from that to, "Hey, are you free?" to, "Why aren't you talking to me?" And near the latter, she mentioned she drove by my house and didn't see my car. She accused me of sleeping around. Basically, any and every insecurity got projected onto me within a couple of hours, all while I was asleep. I called it off immediately because she probably has some deeper issues, and I hope that she has gotten help and that she's feeling better now. It was just the transition from a few nice dates to that night that really made me take a step back and go, what the actual f***? Story 8. Met a girl for a first date at a local bar. We had a few too many, so we decided to Uber back to my place. Girl decides she's going to try to lick my lap rocket in the back seat of the Uber. Thankfully, I was able to spare myself and the driver of that situation. We get back to my place and start going at it. Next thing I know, it's 4 a.m. and she's climbing back into bed. I get up to use the bathroom and step in something. I flick the lights on, and guess what? There is puke everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Girl puked on the toilet lid and it splashed all over the bathroom. The sink, the walls, the shower curtain, and the mirror were covered in her puke. I spent the next 30 minutes cleaning it up, then took a shower, made myself some coffee, and thought about what the f just happened. It was an awkward Uber back to our cars that morning for one of us. I didn't have the nuts to tell her what she had done, and I don't think she knew. That's one insane plot twist, I must say. Also, a really nasty one. I have some feeling that she remembers what happened that night, but she was just way too embarrassed to mention it. We can't really blame her. She was really drunk and obviously couldn't take care of herself. But hey, at least you had a fun night. Story 9. I got sort of abducted on the second date. I got a text saying she wanted to take me somewhere special. I figured she meant a bar nearby or restaurant or something. I'm in Chicago. Nope, still didn't tell me where she was taking me, and she drove me an hour and a half away to her parents' place for some reason. She was really attractive, so I stupidly went with it. Got there and she started playing with a dead bird on the ground and told me she kept gloves in her car so she could pick up dead animals normally. That wasn't enough to deter my meatbag brain as we proceeded to bone. She then tried to get me to take off work and refused to take me back, so I had to take a very expensive Uber to work. Texted me a few hours later how much she missed me. I blocked her immediately after that. Makes for a funny story though. I'm not sure what to say besides that the whole situation is way too freaking weird, and that you are a little weird as well for not being turned off by that. At least you blocked her after that, and I hope you get to know potential dates better before going out with them for the first time. Story 10. It wasn't my date, but I had gone home with the guy I had been seeing, and when we got there, his roommate was curled in a ball on the couch looking pretty shaken. We asked him what was wrong, and it took him a while to get it out, but he finally told us what happened. The story goes like this. He took a girl home from the bar, and they started drunkenly tearing each other's clothes off as soon as they got through his bedroom door. She said she was self-conscious though, so she wanted the lights off. He switched them off, and they started fooling around. She starts going down on him when all of a sudden the guy notices this horrible smell. He mentions it, but she tells him to just ignore it. He's probably imagining things. Finally, the smell is too much, so he switches the lights on. That's when he saw it. Poop. Literally poop all over her and all over the bed. He was completely dumbfounded, and he didn't know what to say or do, so apparently all he yelled was She grabbed all her clothes and ran out of the apartment crying without saying a word, and presumably still covered in poop. He threw his bedding out, took an hour-long shower, and refused to go back to his room. Pretty much killed our night too, and to this day I still wonder what on earth happened. Was she into it and was hoping he would be too, or was it an accident and she decided to just go with it? I don't know which scenario is more horrifying, to be honest. Story 11. I've posted this before because it's so weird. I went for a meal with this girl I met through a dating app, and it was going really well. We started talking about movies, and then we decided to go to the cinema to go watch Inception. She said there was a cinema nearby, but I didn't know the area at all, so I used the GPS on my phone, and she held it and directed me. Once we got there, we started walking inside, and I realized I don't have my phone in my pocket. I said I must have left it in the car and started to walk back to get it. She was trying to get me to leave it and saying we would miss the film. But the phone was only about a week old, so I was really paranoid about it. We checked the car for about 10 minutes, but we couldn't find it. I asked her to check her jacket and her bag, but she said it wasn't there. A couple parked next to us, so I asked them to ring my number because I couldn't find it. It started to ring and it was obviously coming from my date's handbag. She took it out and said she must have missed it. I thanked the couple and locked my car, and as I turned back around, she was walking the other way. I ran to catch up and asked what was going on, but she was very dismissive and was barely talking. That's when I realized it wasn't an accident and just left her to walk home alone.